Hi there. In this video, I want to show you a powerful way to grow your small business sales consistently without having to, chase low quality leads and having to spend hours and hours prospecting or posting on social media. And that system is building referral relationships, right? Building referral partners. And that, a lot of times in small business, the referral is more of like a happy accident, like, oh, someone that sent you, and now that's how you got a referral. But what I want to share with you is that there's a process that you can follow where you can consistently get referrals. Referrals are some of the best leads that you can have because most likely they're sent from somebody that person trusts. So they're already, 80% closed, and you don't have to spend as much time on trying to convince them on why they should go with your service. A lot of small businesses, they don't have a great lead generation system. It's usually like feast or famine. Either they're slammed with, customers or clients, or they're just, wondering where, when the next client or customer is going to show up at their doorstep. So, building a referral network, it really helps you have predictability in your sales. It's going to help you lower your stress on where you're going to getting new clients or customers from, and then, what you can predict for your revenue and your sales numbers. So let's get into the 3-step process that I want you to start using so that way you can get more referrals and grow your business more effectively. The first step is identifying your adjacent partners, right? So what does that mean? So that means, who can be your referral partners. So that will depend on the type of business that you're in. So for example, if, somebody owns a plumbing business, so that might be, other home restoration services or general contractors, or even realtors that are involved in sale of a house, and then that's going to be a trusted person for a homeowner. And a lot of times people will reach out to their realtors when they need a skilled trade, like who can I call? That's more of examples for a specific business, but really think about who is possibly your customer also going to see, either before they see you or after they see you, right? So for example, working on growing a physical therapy clinic. So a lot of our referral network, injury clinics where people are going, or like immediate care centers, where then the doctor realizes that they need to go to therapy, or sports medicine doctors. Those are our referral sources. So really, who else would your client or your customer see? So that's going to be the first step. I want you to try to see if you can list down 3 to 5 adjacent businesses that your clients or your customer also might be seeing. So that's the step 1. All right. So once you complete that, then the second step. The second step is where you're probably spending majority of your time as you're trying to grow these referral networks in your referral system and building new relationship with your referral partners. So the second step is trying to set up a meeting. So as you're trying to set up the meeting, I want to give you a few tips at how you go about setting up the meeting or when you are in that meeting. Think about it, as a reciprocal relationship, right? You don't want to just be a taker. You want to be a giver as well. You want to send business in that referral partner's direction as well. Ideally, if you can send them a client first, that's going to build, goodwill and trust, and then you can, set the meeting up. But even, if that doesn't happen, you can reach out to these referral partners that you identified in the first step, and then just set up a meeting with them. Let them know that, you're looking to build, more relationships with trusted people that you can send clients to or send business their way. Setting up the meeting, what might that consist of? Most likely you're calling that place, right? You can either call, or you can visit, or you can email. Those are some of your few options. If you can visit them in person, surprisingly, like to this day, it still works well. With all the technology in the world, with the social media being such a great avenue, but it's still real world sales are still effective. You just have to do it a bunch. That is more time consuming. So I found for my clients, calling them works really well too. So, giving them a call and, your general script, it could be something along the lines of, hey, I'm, looking to grow my network of reliable professionals in the area. And, I would love to, quickly, briefly meet with you and learn more about your business. So that way we can see how we can send business each other's way. And most times, those referral partners, they will also be relying on quality leads and referrals. So they'll be open to meeting with you, hopefully. As you're meeting them, don't just, ask them like, can you send me leads? See how you can help them out. See what's going to be, their ideal clients that you can send their way, and what's going to be the best way for you to introduce a client to them, whether that's putting them in a text group message with them, or giving them your business card and having them call you, whatever that is, ask that. So that way they see that, okay, you're not just in it for yourself, you're genuinely trying to build a good relationship with them. And that is the ultimate goal, right? These are genuine relationships that you're building, and as they grow over time, the trust grows, and then you're sending each other great business and everybody wins. So it works really well, when it's done right. And again, there might be some people that are not like worth your time. If you know that they have a bad service, don't necessarily maybe reach out to them. Don't do business with them if people are just mean and jerks. So that's the big part of the second step. And something I want to give you, as a side note, that step is where you're spending most of your time. And a lot of times you are going to get rejected. That's just part of sales. If you make 100 phone calls, if you are able to get 5 to 10 meetings, like that's great. Like that's what, happens in the real world anyway. Some people are just, especially nowadays with all the spam calls that people get, they're not usually, it's hard to get through to them over the phone. But I just want you to, trust the process. It's part of it is, numbers game. You just have to spend time making these phone calls, or, visiting them in person or sending emails. And eventually some people are going to respond to you. And then, once you have that relationship, then you can ask your referral partner, like, hey, who else do you think in a different area perhaps could be sending you business? If it's a general contractor, right? Like maybe a general contractor in a different county, they might be friends just because they're, in the same line of work. So that's, you'll be able to grow that over time, but you have to trust that process. So now the third step, this step is, this is also, important as well. That's why, in this video, I'm not making this a 4 or 5 step process. It's really just 3 steps. And that first step, identifying the partners, that most likely you're doing that once. Most of your time is going to be spent in that second step, and then some in the third. So the third step is nurturing and tracking that relationship. Just because you met with somebody once, don't just ignore them, never see them again. Then that's just not really great business for long term. You want to show them that this is a genuine relationship that you have, and that's what you're going for. Maybe, so what does nurturing that relationship look like? Maybe you take coffee to them like every 6 to 8 weeks, or maybe bring breakfast for their office one day. And yeah, you're going to spend a little bit of marketing money, but if they're sending a great number of referrals each month, then that's worth it. Referrals are still like some of the lowest cost of getting leads. So do that. And again, nurturing the relationship, it can vary depending on the referral source. Like if they like to go, golf once in a while, or they want to grab beers with you, and if that's something you enjoy as well, do that. Here I want to give you another pro tip as well. Many businesses don't do this, especially like small businesses, they don't do this, but it works really well, and you'll be surprised how well it works, and you might not necessarily think that it might work until you actually try it. So anyways, that pro tip is, write thank you notes. Anytime they send you a referral, write them a personalized handwritten note. You can get a stack of thank you notes, and then each time they send you a referral, let them know how much that you appreciate the referral, that thank you for trusting in their service, and then you either deliver it to them or you mail it to them. And that goes a long way. That goes really a long way. If you have that type of relationship for, they see those type of interactions for months, then that relationship is going to be solidified to where they're sending you referrals, for years to come. All right. So that's how you nurture the relationship. And then, tracking it is going to be through, it could be a simple spreadsheet or the CRM that you're using. Just track, when did you meet them last? Take some meeting notes from that. What you guys covered? And then, mainly you want to be tracking the dates and the face-to-face like interaction that you have with them. Ideally, if you can see them like once a quarter, even that works well. Once you have a solidified relationship, early on, you can even see them on a more of a higher frequency, maybe, every 6 weeks or so. So that way, some people are genuinely good and they want to help you grow your business, but a lot of times people forget, they're just busy in their own life and they forget to like, oh yeah, I know you stopped by, but I just forgot. So this is where, you constantly see them every 6 to 8 weeks. And again, you're not being pesty here. You don't want to like overwhelm them. So that's why you're not seeing them like every week, but every 6 to 8 weeks or so, it's generally a good cadence for them to see you. That will help to make sure that the relationship continues into the future. So that's the 3-step process. I hope you took away something really valuable for us. And I have a challenge for you. Identify like who is one adjacent referral partner that you can network to, right? And see if you can set up a meeting with them. And I'm gonna leave a script in the description that you can just copy, paste, and send it, modify it to your referral's name. And you can use that script either for email or even for a phone call, or if you stopped in person. So I hope it helps. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. Take care.